Popeye and Olive Oil Nail Art Tutorial by Hotpinkzebrapolish. Begin by painting all of your nails solid white. On my thumbnail, I'm going to be painting Popeye. So with a new tone paint, I'm going to begin and just sketching out his face shape. And so this doesn't have to be perfect at this stage. I know it's hard to tell how it's going to end up at the end when you're just starting and painting a shape, but you can adjust it as you go, and you will see that I did adjust it and fix a couple things later on. And so you can basically, this is just getting the idea so that you know where to go from here, and then paint his neck below. So now I'm going to add a little bit of red for his shirt. And now I'm going to start with the black details. So I'm going to begin with outlining, and so I'm going to start with his chin. And then because this hat is white and our background is white, we really don't have to paint too much of it, but you do need to outline it so that you know where it goes. And so I'm going to start with the black rim of his hat and then add the white top area of the hat. And then he's also got his pipe that sticks out, and so I'm just going to make the outline and we can fill that in later. Add his nose. His eyebrows, his eyes, okay, so now, as I mentioned before, I'm going to do a couple more touch-ups with that nude paint. So I'm going to fill in that area of his head that I didn't paint before and thin out any lines I feel like need to be thin out or adjusted. And then with a golden color of yellow paint, I'm going to be filling in his pipe, adding a button on his hat. And now on our ring nail with nude tone paint, the same one we used for Popeye, we're going to be painting Olive Oil. So I'm going to start with her head, just like we did with Popeye. We're going to follow basically the same step and technique. So I'm going to start by just sketching out what I think her head shape is, adding her neck. And now I'm going to be adding the red of her shirt or dress. And I'm going to leave a thin white stripe around her neck, between her neck and her dress, for her collar. Alright, and so now we're going to be doing our outlining. So once again, I started with her neck, and then I'm going to work on her shirt. And when you're doing outlines, you want to have only a tiny amount of paint on your brush, because the more paint you have on your brush, the thicker your lines are going to be. So if you want a thick line, you're going to want to really dip your brush far into the paint so you get a nice amount. But if you're only going for really thin lines, you only need to get a tiny amount of paint on your brush. It'll be easier to control, and you'll have much better results that way. Also, if you want to thin out your paint just a little bit, so if you just add a little bit of drop of water and then shake the paint up, then that is going to give you a little bit more controllable paint, which is going to make it easier to do all of these tiny little lines. And also, don't be afraid to cut your brushes. I know it's kind of daunting if you've never cut a brush before, but if you want to have nice, thin, really usable, detailed work, then you're going to need to cut a brush, because you can't really buy brushes that are thin enough for nail art, at least not detailed nail art, so you gotta cut them yourself. Add all the details to Olive Oil's face, eyes, nose, smile, smile line, hair, a couple little wrinkles. And then I'm also going to add two little outlines for her earrings. And then fill in her earrings with the same golden yellow paint that we used for Popeye's pipe. On our index nail with red paint, I'm going to be painting the word Popeye down my nail. So I'm going to start with the P, the middle P, the second P, in about the middle of my nail. And then I'm going to add the rest of the letters. And the reason I started with the P is because the P and the E, that those middle two are the middle letters, and so those I know need to be in the middle of my nail for everything to be balanced. So I'm going to start with the P and then go for the E and then YE and then OP before it. So now I'm going to be outlining my letters with thin black paint. If you're not comfortable doing all this outlining, you can certainly skip this part, but if you want it to really show up and be easy to read, outlining is always a great way to do it, especially since these letters overlap just a little bit, so it's really going to define them so that you can read it, so it's nice and easy to see, especially from a distance. And the fun thing about outlining letters is there's so many straight lines, and generally speaking, at least for me, I find that outlining straight lines is going to be easier and really good practice, and then later on you can work on doing outlines of curves because those can be a little bit more tricky, and so getting this practice in is probably a good thing. On my middle nail with yellow paint, we're going to be painting a can of spinach, so I'm going to start with just a bar of yellow about a third of the way up my nail. So this is for the top of the can. And then I'm going to fill in the bottom of my can with orange paint. And so this is a can of spinach, so we do need to add the spinach. So I'm going to add all these spinach leaves going up and above the can. And I was looking at a picture of spinach from Popeye, and the spinach isn't spinach leaf shaped. It's more, I don't know, sea kelp shaped. So keep that in mind and paint it the way that it appears on the cartoon. So now I'm going to be doing my outlining, the ever-present outlining. And so in this one, it's actually pretty important because otherwise, if you don't outline those spinach leaves, they just kind of turn into a green mess. So you really want to make sure that you define those. And also, along in the orange area, you're going to want to write spinach. Now, it's a pretty long word for a small nail. So if you cannot fit the whole word, like I did not, I missed the H, it's okay because cans are curved. You probably aren't going to be able to read the whole word when you're just looking at it. So if you miss a little bit here and there, it's okay because it could just be curved around on the other side of the can. So then, as I mentioned, you're going to want to outline your spinach leaves. And this does not have to be perfect. It's kind of a big old pile of spinach, so they can be all intertwined. On my pinky, I'm going to be painting blue horizontal stripes all the way across my nail. And so, since I mentioned before, depending on the line thickness, you're going to want a different amount of paint on your brush. Since these are nice thick stripes, I'm going to put a bigger drop of paint on my brush. This is going to make it so the stripes go quick and they're thick right from the beginning. And then with black paint, I'm going to be painting an anchor across the stripe. So start with a line going down and then add just a curved line at the bottom, a straight line across, and then a circle at the top. And of course, add a layer of top coat. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you like this design. Please share any recreations with me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I would really love to see them. And I will see you in my next video. Bye!